Welcome to the world we live in, back and forth through the kitchen. Welcome to episode 8 of the Neutral Zone. So we're a little off schedule here this week, as you all know, because many of you tuned in on Monday evening where we did the Woodridge Sunday 1 recap. We're a little off schedule, but we didn't want to miss out on sharing with you the weekly highlights from last week, because last week we were inundated with questions for both Eric and Frank about the tournament. So we wanted to take that on and get back to you, though, because I know many of you are eagerly awaiting the updates from last week's highlights. So this week we'll cover that in this episode. So you're watching season 1, episode 8 of the Neutral Zone with Nav and Stomps. Welcome, Stomps. How are you doing this evening?
Good, Nav. I have my bros behind me from the hottest band in the world. Little background action. It looks better than seeing my office. But yeah, doing well. How about you?
Not too bad. Has your soreness subsided from the tournament?
Yeah, well, my knee is still a little bit sore. It was funny, like 2 days after Sunday, so Tuesday, I was having some really bad pain in my left shoulder. And I remember like 10, 12 years ago at Poplar Creek, I went down really hard in a game like that. And I guess what ended up happening is, you know, when you go down, it happens so fast, you know, you try to brace yourself, right, with your arm. And I think I had some really bad tendonitis in my shoulder. So it hurt, but it went away the next day. So I'm okay. Thank you.
So yeah, no, that's good. That's good to hear. I was sore, actually still a little sore, believe it or not. The body, as you age, doesn't recover as quickly. And we had 3 games on Sunday. I think you did as well, right?
Yes, we did.
I think the third game actually does you in, right, a little bit?
I don't know. I felt pretty good, actually. We had to play back-to-back games, which right off the bat, which was tough. But hey, a lot of teams had to play back-to-backs. Most of the teams played 3 games. You know, so now you have a situation. Well, we're going to get into probably talking a little bit about this coming Sunday. You got I think a couple of teams, right, that only played twice.
Right, right.
I know Death was one of them.
Death was one of them. And I did bring the schedule for us here to talk through that. Obviously, it's one Sunday behind because of the delay, right? Because of the weather in Sunday 1. But I still have the old schedule that has the wrong names. Like it has your team as the D-bags and us as Peters cheaters. Well, maybe we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the tournament, because we're facing each other, so that'll be interesting. So what do we want to talk about today? We want to talk about the tournament a little bit. I mean, it's been 3 or 4 days since we last connected with Frank and Eric. Thank you to all the viewers out there that watched our video. We still haven't hit our record. We're up to over 200 views. Did you see how many views we had last time, Stomps?
No.
So we were up to around 200 and I think 215 or something in the early 200s. We can get more than that because we've had more than that. But again, I ask those of you that watch the video to subscribe to the channel. I know I remind you that every single week. We'll talk a little bit about the tournament shortly. If there's been any developments, we'll look through some of the matchups. Some NHL announcements that I'd like to share. Stomps will go through the week in review. We'll do some regularly scheduled player spotlights. And then if we have time, we'll go over kind of what to expect over the coming weeks. So in the next coming weeks. So that's what we got in store for you this evening. Am I missing anything, Stomps?
I don't think so.
All right. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the tournament. I know we covered the surprises, the letdowns. Any news on the weather?
Well, that's what I was going to talk about. So here, I think it's going to be a factor on Sunday. They're talking 40 degrees roughly for the high. So it'll be chilly, but worse yet, 15 to 25 mile an hour northwesterly breezes. So, there'll be a wind chill to deal with as well. So I would advise everybody playing Sunday who's listening to just dress smartly, layer up and, yeah. So you may want to, this may be an opportunity to buy some of those beanie hats, those Hockey Monster beanie hats. That might sell some of those because I think unless you bring your own hat and you get there, you might regret it. So it's going to be chilly. Yeah.
Yeah, they're on sale for $25, and he takes cash as well as Zelle, Chase, PayPal. Okay, that's pretty interesting. The weather is going to be definitely a factor. I don't know if that gives any teams an advantage or a disadvantage. I mean,
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the teams that only played twice, they got two more games to play in pool play. And it's going to be cold. I mean, but I think playing probably gets the blood going and keeps you a little warmer. So maybe that's a good thing that they're playing two games. I don't know.
do you feel, well, hopefully we'll get some more updates, positive updates on the weather. One of the things we didn't cover on Monday was about some teams that probably were not too happy with their performance on Sunday, and maybe there were some higher expectations of them. What do you think's the mindset of any of those teams going into Sunday that might have come out 0-3 or 0-2? I particularly was thinking about the South Side. Southsiders, they're the Boom Booms, right?
They're the what?
They're the Boom Booms, right? The Southsiders.
Yeah, correct.
I'm guessing that they're going to come out pretty strong. I'm not writing that team off. I think there's just too much talent, grit, determination for them to be written off. And if you look at their schedule, though, it's not getting any easier. They play the Goblin Sharks at 11 a.m. And then their second game, oh, that's their only game. So they play the Goblin Sharks. So, I mean, they could very well come out of this thing 0-4. Hopefully not for their sake. They got a good team, but that's going to be a good matchup. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I'm mostly concerned, obviously, with my own squad, and there was a lot of chatter on our text group last night about strategizing in our game against you guys. So some interesting things were thrown around, and I think the guys will be ready.
I don't think we would expect anything less of your team when we face you at 10:20 a.m. on Sunday. I think your team is going to come very prepared. You guys are thinking about, you guys went, was it 1-2?
Correct.
Yeah, 1-2. So that, you guys still have, technically you have a chance to get in the top four, don't you?
I don't know about that, to be honest with you, because we only have the one game against you. So I don't know what's the max points you could get. I'm just not 100% sure. I just want us to play better.
Yeah.
Better than we did. Let's just say I don't think we played badly. We just need a little, I said it last week, need a little more offense. More people contributing, and I think we'll get it. We'll be ready. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I want to make the point once again that I made on the last show. Just to everybody remember, Saturday night, early Sunday morning, clocks go back 1 hour.
Yeah. No, good reminder. We have to be ready for that because you don't want to have people there at the wrong time. My thought, about Sunday is, it's a little bit of the perfect storm. Like you said, the daylight saving time, the possible uncooperative weather. Um, we're buckling. Obviously we had the COVID situation that happened last week. I don't have any additional updates from any of our insiders.
I,
I
I
don't
could
know.
tell you that one of my teammates tested negative.
Oh, so one of your teammates actually went out and did the test. Good for him. Good for
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
So
I was
uh,
think, I was thinking of doing the test, but I didn't really interact with anybody without a mask outside of the games.
do you think with Saturday being Halloween, there's a possibility of like Bruner and Ganutek eating too much candy and coming to the game a little sluggish? Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility if you guys are going to be the ones giving them the candy. To give yourself some sort of advantage. I can actually see Bruner and Ganutek going trick or treating together. What do you think they dress up as?
They would just dress up as hockey players, and Ganutek would just pass Bruner the Snickers.
Those two have some amazing chemistry. I'll tell you, the best is yet to come with them too. So, no, we look forward to that big game against you guys. I look forward to seeing how the standings shake out. I think for us, our schedule should be a little bit easier. I think we'll probably end up playing 2 games because we were like you guys. We played 3 games. I'll tell you one thing. I was looking at the teams, and I actually think that even the bottom 5 division, like there's the winners division and then there's the not winners division. And in the schedule it says losers, but I don't want to call anybody losers. But let me tell you this: I'll tell you that bottom 5, there's a very good chance that any of those teams can advance. And just given what we heard about the Dolphins and the Dolphins and the Porpoises, they could put together their players and get a super team going. Because I think one of their teams is missing 3 players. So if they want to put their best players on either team, they have that option. And I think that could make both those teams pretty strong.
It's an interesting possibility. But, as Frank pointed out on the last show, if you're in that bottom group, one and done, that's the key thing. One loss and you're out. Whereas if you're in the top 4, you have to lose twice to be eliminated.
Yeah, but think about this. If you're in that top 4,
you're playing each other, right?
Yeah, exactly. For the first round, you're playing one of the top 4.
Right.
So, I think it all evens out in the wash. I mean, there might even be some teams that are strategizing to purposely finish in the bottom 5. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm not going to accuse anyone of doing that and, getting into some sort of, setting the scores. But I will tell you that, I did get a little bit of heat. I don't know about you after our last show when some of those predictions were made. I mean, some people were, on my team at least, were kind of feeling like they didn't get picked as one of the top teams, just given where they fell in the standings on week 1. No love, man, no respect.
Well, I wanted to take the opportunity to apologize to Eric because on the last show, I referred to his team as Carlo and Timmy's team. I wasn't intentionally forgetting that. I did forget that, that's truly Eric's team. He's the captain. So sorry about that, Eric.
Well, it's Eric's league, so he's bigger than the team.
Right.
Right. I don't really have any other changes in terms of like predictions or anything. I don't think we have any new developments. So let's just, like you said, let's hope for the best on Sunday with the weather, the daylight savings time, hopefully no other COVID infections, and we have a good tournament. And then we take that week off, and we'll get to that in a second. So just news I wanted to share with everybody. The NHL, obviously, given the upcoming season that they're currently talking about would start in January 2021. they basically postponed the Winter Classic and the All-Star Weekend for next season. So I don't know even if they can start on Monday, or sorry, January. But did you hear anything about the divisions? So there's going to be 4 divisions.
Did I hear there was a Canadian division or?
Yeah, you heard right. You heard right. So there's going to be a Canadian division with 7 teams, and obviously those teams are going to be the Canucks, the Oilers, the Flames, the Jets, the Habs, the Leafs, and the Senators. So you got 7 there. And then what I did just for fun this week, because I guess I was a little bored, is I actually made all the divisions. I should have sent it to you, actually. I came up with all the divisions. And there's going to be another 3 divisions. And that'll be Metro. I don't know. I'll just go through it real quick. The Metro would have the Bruins, the Rangers, the Islanders, the Devils, the Caps, the Pens, the Flyers, and the Sabres. Then there'll be a Central, which would have the Hurricanes, the Panthers, the Lightning, the Preds, the Hawks, the Wings, the Blues, and the Blue Jackets. And then a Pacific Division, which would not include Seattle, because my guess is Seattle might get pushed out to the following season, but I didn't account for them right now. And that would include the Kings, the Sharks, the Ducks, the Coyotes, the Avs, the Knights, the Golden Knights, the Stars, and the Wild. I'll send this to you if you're interested. I just mocked up my own little divisions.
Okay, so that's not official then. Those are
Those are my divisions. But remember when we had the lockout and I sent you that other file? I kind of enjoy doing that stuff. Yes, it's not official, but I mean, if I had Gary Bettman's ear, that's how I would do it.
There you go. Well, I'm concerned. You know, you got the Hawks with the Stanley Cup champs in there, but maybe that makes sense. I don't know. I actually got an email from the Blackhawks today saying they were going to hit my credit card on November 1st for my first installment for season tickets when I don't have season tickets with them. But they quickly sent a follow-up email. They must have sent it to a lot of people, and they said, please disregard.
Right. You know, you just raised a very good point, though. If you think about that Central Division, and I'd love some of the local local Hawks fans to chime in maybe in the comments in YouTube. The only team that the Hawks are guaranteed to be better than is the Wings. Otherwise, like you said, that's a tough division because the Hurricanes are good. The Panthers are pretty good. These are all playoff teams. Lightning, Preds, Blues, and Columbus. I mean, the Hawks wouldn't have made the playoffs this year, right? If it wasn't for and the Wings obviously were I think dead last in the NHL.
Well,
that's a tough division. That hopefully and I don't think they'll have crossover games because that's the whole point of keeping it in a semi-bubble, right?
I guess so. Would they have fans?
I think they're going to have fans. I think they're going to do something with the seating or something. I hope so. I mean, I'd like to. I mean, look, right now, as you and I have both seen, the numbers are increasing. I don't know about if they're going to go back to having fans, but if they do, they're going to have to take some really safety measures, safety precautions.
I don't see how these these leagues can go through another season without fans.
Right.
And that lack of revenue and stuff. Hopefully they can make it work.
I don't know, man. Let me ask you this. As a fan, if there was a game in the United Center and it was this week, just say, kind of given what you're saying, would you be rushing to a game? I mean, everybody's different. I mean.
It depends on how many people they put in the building and that kind of thing. I mean, the only sporting event I've been to is a minor league baseball game, which we felt very safe at the way they did it.
Right.
So
it was outdoor.
So you got that difference going for you.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to retrofit these arenas with some kind of air system to almost like an airplane. You know, they say the airplane air is, believe it or not, pretty clean the way it circulates through this filtration system. Maybe they have to do things like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I mean, I guess there's a couple of things. I was thinking while you were saying that they could put some plexiglass in between seats, but I think that would be very costly. And then what if you're going to a game with your family member or somebody that you don't really need to socially distance from, and then all of a sudden you're plexiglass, or you might as well go just watch the game from home.
You're right. That's costly and aesthetically looks. I don't know. I don't like it though.
I will say the other day though, I was in Wheeling. I was in a restaurant called El Famous Burrito, and maybe Dante can look this one up. It's a great Mexican restaurant, and they had actually plexiglass in between all the booths. I felt pretty,
really?
Yeah, I felt pretty safe in there. I mean, that was probably like 2-3 weeks ago, and I'm doing okay.
El Famous is a chain.
Yes, it is.
So Dante will probably give it a low marks.
Yeah. I was at Taco Vita today, which is in Deerfield. We had gotten food from there. I loved it. I love Taco Vita, and maybe I'll tell them to post this. It's been great throughout the pandemic. Their service, their safety precaution, and their food is off the charts. Taco Vita in Deerfield, Illinois.
Wow.
All right, so what do you know about this tournament, man?
I really don't. I'm not sure who's going, who's not going, where they're staying, how many guys in a room, are people driving? A lot of people like to drive to Pittsburgh instead of fly, because it is drivable. It's about a 7-hour.
So was
drive.
that 450 miles?
I don't know, but I've done the drive a couple of times. It's not too bad, really. I don't know. You'd need Frank to chime in on that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll have him kind of do a little debrief on that after a tournament. I know Bruner's going. I know Ryan's going. I know Billy Jacques is going. Obviously, Frank. And I think some of the younger guys are going from Team Chicago.
That's good.
Well, that's
like to have a decent showing out there, hopefully.
Right, and that's not even until it's a week from this coming weekend.
This week.
Good luck to those guys out there. So, what'd you see with Joe Gleason last week?
He's back. He looks like Joe. I mean, he might be still bothered a little bit, but yeah. Joe was Joe's got a way about him. He I don't know if you recall last week's play. There was a play where we thought Latham, our goaltender, had it frozen, and then they kept jabbing away, and they scored and they counted the goal.
Right.
And Joe said, he didn't say, Joe's not a loud person, but he said to me, he goes, well, they want to play that way. I'm just going to knock them down next time.
One of the things I like about Joe is he does know the hockey code very well. So, I mean, he's not going out there to hit anyone. He's not a dirty player, but he will self-police a game if he has to. That's what I like about him. He understands the game. It was nice to see him. I don't think he missed a step. He scored a really nice goal against us in the tournament last week.
I missed it.
Turnover. He came in and he took a nice backhand. He's got nice hands. He's got good hands, and he's still got a very, really nice shot. So just glad to see him back.
There you go.
You got any updates on his Chico's recovery?
Chico was feeling no pain coming out of the procedure. We were texting with him, just well wishes type stuff. So, he's been through this. He's been down this road before with his other hips, so he knows exactly what to expect, what he needs to do to get back on his feet quickly. And you know, I'm sure hockey's not a high priority right now. It's being able to get around, get up and down the stairs, just basic stuff.
Right. He told me that it's a hereditary thing with his hips.
Yeah, I believe it.
Can't escape that. Hey, you never commented on the teddy bear that I have over there, and the fact that I have the wrap around the hip. Did you notice I went and I found one another teddy bear that had the similar hip surgery as Chico?
Oh, brother. If you say so, man.
So I got to give a lot of credit first and foremost. Let's do the week in review to Lou. He's put some pretty good teams that have been pretty fair lately. What do you think?
Yeah, Lou does a good job. I do want to re-nickname Lou as Stealth. He's kind of like a stealth bomber. I had at one point, I thought I was kind of had more time than I did with the ball, and he just snuck up behind me and stole it, and I didn't hear him coming, and nobody warned me. So he's very stealthy. Also, thanks to Lou for the free hamburgers.
Yeah. And the week before.
That made my night.
Yeah, he does a nice job with that. Lou is he's a pretty no nonsense guy. And you're right about the stealth thing. And I think Lou's got a good shot too. We don't see it enough, but he's got a good shot. When he unwinds, he's got a great shot. We like having Lou take care of business here. Okay, so I thought last week, if you kind of overall, I thought the games were kind of, and you said this best, and you'll talk a little bit about that when we go to the Corona Cup stars with the goaltending. But I thought the goaltending was good, but I thought the games are starting to get a little more competitive and chippy. Are you noticing that?
Yeah, I think we're all getting sick of each other. And there's only so much you can take of a dash coming down forehand, backhand, top shelf. He's becoming money on breakaways. And I told him to go sit down because I've had enough of him. So he's getting on my nerves quite a bit, just like Timmy gets on my nerves at Woodridge. And so I think that leads to some chippiness. Is you're when you're in that arena with kind of the same guys over and over, you can get a little bit irritated. And I think people might be itching for, we've had a setback now. Who knows when we're going to have the leagues open up again where we can play real games. Not that they're fake games that we play, but, they're scrimmage games. And I think people want to take it to the next level and play more competitively. So, and that always leads to a little more chippiness.
Well, you and I were exchanging a text, I think yesterday or the day before, with the indoor dining shut down now. I haven't heard anything about the Palatine Park District, but I'm keeping my ears open to see if anything's happened with that. Have you heard anything about the Park District?
I haven't. I sent a couple of those links that you shared yesterday to Lou, and I mean, he thinks we're going to be fine. I mean, we got to enforce some people have been a little lax coming into the building wearing a mask.
Right.
So we got to get back to just following the protocols for safety purposes.
Right. Well, a couple of people
hopefully we'll be okay. I haven't heard anything negative, so that's
good. That's good news. Hopefully it'll remain that way. I have seen a couple of people wearing masks. I think maybe one guy wears a mask in Palatine, but there's a few people that wear a mask in Woodridge. I've been contemplating it myself. I haven't made a final decision yet, but I've been thinking about it. But just the whole element of being outdoor, I think it provides you a better level of safety than indoors. I'm thinking the mask might be more appropriate for an indoor venue.
Could be, yeah.
But they just definitely got to be breathable. So let's go through the weekly. Let's go through the Corona Cup weekly stars. I'll have you kind of talk through it because you're much better at this stuff than me. And you brought these guys up, right?
Yeah, I thought the goaltending trio was really good. Um, Billy was solid, but I thought Latham and Joe, it was funny. They each had at least a sequence or two where they were swimming and kicking the pads up and throwing up an arm and just scrambling to make saves. There were some pretty spectacular sequences for the goaltending. So yeah, I felt collectively the three should be the third star.
I think it's a great choice. Again, we're just covering the 3 stars, the 3 Corona Cup stars from last week's highlights. You are watching episode 8 of the Neutral Zone in season 1 with Nav and Stomps.
What was that, like a time check, like a professional broadcaster? We should have done it at the bottom of the hour. That would have been the time to do.
Well, technically, it is the bottom of the hour because we didn't start right at 6.
Oh, okay.
All
yeah,
right.
That's true. I'm sorry.
No worries. So listen, Corona Cup star number 2.
Yeah, Ryan had a great game, scored on a couple of rockets. Ryan, if you give him room, he can blast it. So you gotta try and take that away from him. But there were a couple of like really, and I mean the shots were from a fair ways out. So it's not the easiest to score at Palatine when you're near the blue line on a slap shot. It's not like Poplar Creek was, or even Woodridge, which is a smaller place.
Yeah.
But he blasted a couple of them. So kudos to Ryan.
No, I think it's another good choice. And then obviously the first star, drum roll.
There he is. So yeah, well, Alex and I had the line we played. I think it was Alex, Patty, and me.
Yeah.
We had some really good chemistry. I mean, we scored some nice goals, good plays. He set me up on a great goal. But more interesting than his play is our discussion post game. Just a fast fact about Alex. Only once in his life has he tried red meat.
Really?
Yeah. Once in his life. So I thought that was really interesting. So that was the night Lou brought the hamburgers. So I ate mine and I had Alex's for him.
I bet you he didn't like it that once he tried it. Obviously it didn't. Maybe he didn't eat the right thing.
I don't know, but kudos to Alex, of course. And it was also nice to see his brother James out there for the first time since, well, when he played for a little bit with Dynamo. And he did a good job, having not played in a while. So kudos to him.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a reliable defenseman. I like having James on the team. Hey, before we get on to the next part, I did want to ask you something.
Yeah, because I also have a few special mentions, but go ahead.
Let me ask you this question, then get to your special mentions, because I think the flow makes sense. We talked about Chico and his hip injury, and then in the last couple of episodes, one of the 3 stars has always been Adesh. And I noticed he's conspicuous by his absence on making the 3 stars this week. But I did want to ask you something. Did you notice that he doesn't play in the Woodridge tournaments or games?
I noticed that, but they live far away. I mean, where are they? In Marengo?
I think so.
Where they live?
How far is that from Woodridge? I don't know geographically where they are.
Holy cow. Google is our friend. Let's see what it is. Let's see if it figures out the distance here. It's over 60 miles.
Oh, that's too far.
Yeah, so they're out there in the sticks, and And I think that's the main reason for that.
No, makes sense. Okay, listen, you had a couple of honorable mentions, right?
Well, we just want to talk about, the fact that Dance forgot his helmet, so he played sans a helmet. So he looking very much like Craig McTavish,
Right.
the last of the players to not wear a helmet. Let's see, we talked about Adesh, talked about Chico. I thought Todd had another solid outing. We talked about the goaltenders. We talked about Lou. I'd like to also recognize the great Ronnie Coletta, Mitt Ronnie. I thought Ronnie played a nice game last week. We were kind of matched up a little bit because I was playing right wing forward and he was left defense. So he was kind of pinching me a little bit along the boards and not giving me room and stuff like that. And had some good breakout passes and so good effort from Ronnie.
Yeah, and he some of that good effort actually seeped into Sunday. He scored the opening goal for the Goblin Sharks on a
He did. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
a rocket from the point.
Kudos to Mitt Ronnie.
Yeah, we're always happy to recognize you, Mitt Ronnie. Okay, the return of Dave Lane.
I was surprised to see Dave last week, but good to see a fellow Dynamo player. He was playing out of position, because he's really traditionally a defenseman, and they had him up front, and that's always hard. But it was just good to see him out there again. I wasn't expecting to see him.
Yeah, it was good to see him. I think we haven't seen him at all in the pandemic, right? It's been probably
that was it. Yeah, first time.
I've seen him for almost 8 months. Yeah, he's just in terms of his game. The reason I wanted to spotlight him is because I think he does a lot of things well on the floor that sometimes you don't get the credit for. Eric and I were talking about this on Sunday at Woodridge. It's the intangibles. And I always believe that if you're a defenseman and nobody's noticing you, then you're doing something right. Because defensemen that kind of fly under the radar, of course, unless they're on a power play and they're getting some goals and shots, but defensemen have to be successful, they don't need to be noticed. And Dave Lane kind of characterizes that position in the sense that he's not the most flashy player, but he makes a lot of good decisions. He's smart with the puck, knows how to pass. He's got a good shot as well. So I think he's a well-rounded defenseman, and I wanted to spotlight him today for that reason.
Yeah, plus he had good things to say about this show, so that give him high marks for that too.
For sure. Make sure you subscribe.
Hit the notification bell.
All right. Here's a guy that we all know very well. That is Eddie Swiatek.
Of course. Eddie, great guy, solid D-man, good shot. But I would like to take an opportunity to talk a little bit more about his other sporting endeavors outside of the hockey rink. So, Eddie likes to golf quite a bit. He's golfed at some premier courses like Kemper Lakes. So he's a big golfer, but he's also, people might not know, he is a very avid bowler. He has a 300 game to his name, perfect game. I think he said his high series was 806, which is, that's darn impressive. That's some serious bowling. But see, Eddie is half Italian, half Polish, right? So that combination lends itself well. I know, especially a lot of Polish people really enjoy the kegling, which is another name for bowling. I haven't bowled in at least 5 years. I used to bowl in leagues all the time back in the 80s. and back when it was smoke-filled bowling alleys and, just guys going at it. Now you have a lot of mixed leagues and stuff like that, but it's a fun sport. So I just wanted to recognize what Eddie does outside the rink as well.
Sure. And just in terms of on the rink, I pick him as a spotlight player. I've been playing with him on a few different teams. I'd say I'd go back to maybe 8-9 years ago when we were both D partners on the Venom team. And I remember one of the things about him that I really like is he always comes to the game. First of all, great attitude. Always comes to every team and every game wanting to continue to learn and get better and wanting to master his craft. So I think as a defenseman, I've seen him evolve. And I don't know, Eddie, if you're going to watch this, but if you do, remember that time you and I were D line mates and we ended up going to the final. And it was great. I mean, we didn't win in the final, but we had a really good playoff run and we were our defensive partners. And I've seen your game evolve to a point where, you're picked as a top player that year. Just so you know, that year when the inaugural season for Dynamo in that Wednesday night league, Eddie actually went in the first round. And I always bug him about that, but he was picked first rounder. So we called him first rounder for the first few games. I know he doesn't like that because he's not a big guy for accolades, but great guy. Eddie and I had a little skirmish last week in front of the net, all in good fun. We play each other tough, but we're good friends, and everything that happens on the court stays on the court. But that's about it for Eddie. And then a couple of things coming up as we close the show. Our next broadcast will be November 2nd. We'll do the highlights of the Woodridge Tourney Sunday 2. And then we'll take a week off because everyone's going to be in Pittsburgh. So we'll probably take a week off from the show, come back, and then close out the Woodridge Tourney in episode 10. And then episode 11, we're hoping to get on a couple of special guests. Hopefully Bobby can make it, Lou and Ryan, for some of the work they're doing with the pickup hockey. And then we're going to try to get our incredible women on the show. And that's not limited to just Danielle and Eileen, but we'd love to get them on the show. And then after that, on December 6th, we'll do the importance of defense. And then we'll have two special guests, Chelly and Switek, who we were just talking about. And then we'd like to close out the year with some real exciting things with Ganutek Sabatini. And then obviously we got to do a special on Fleet, right, Stomps?
You know, Santa, December's the time for it. I actually caught up with Fleet yesterday. He's doing well. He's playing on Sundays. We haven't seen him at Woodridge because he plays in I don't know if it's a touch or a flag football league with Bobby Dickinson. And he told me that he's got a game this Sunday and then the following, I think, is like the playoffs or something like that. And then he shuts down his sports activity through the holiday season because he says it's not good if Santa has a black eye or a busted nose or something like that. He takes that gig very seriously. He's got a great heart. He does it for the kids. And, so, he won't play football. He won't play hockey. He won't do anything through the holidays. But it'll be good to have him on the show for sure, so we can spotlight.
It'll be great. And, he gets really busy at that time, so we'd like to get him on. Hopefully we'll get him on the 13th or work around his schedule. Stomps, any closing comments?
No, stay well, everyone. Happy Halloween. Make sure you stay alert with the clock changing. These days the clocks just, for the most part, they just change themselves, right? I mean, it just happens. But you still got to be aware of that Sunday morning. So make sure you're on time. That's about it. It was a good show.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. You've just watched episode 8 of the Neutral Zone with Nav and Stomps. We'll be posting this shortly on all forms of social media. Have a great evening.
What is our show brought to you by?
I don't know.
Who's our sponsor?
Perrier? I don't know. Apple?
We'll see.
Sponsors. We need some good swag. We're gonna close out here. Look forward to seeing a lot of you on Sunday, and stay safe. Good night.
Remember when the nights we spent out seemed so far away, distinct in the dream.